Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Thing is upside down. I'm sorry. Is that like jarring? Does it make you want to throw up? Welcome. This is another edition of Notes on the News, where I share with you headlines from my news feed, and we kick it about how we process that information to our benefit. We live. There's so much going on in the world, not in the big world, in the little world. It's colder inside than it's outside. That's the thing about old houses, big houses, is, you get that delay. Okay. Okay. So I was going to look up the Kwanzaa principle. What's new and good? What's exciting? What's progressive? What's the good news? Habari Gani. This one I should be playing the music. Yes, it was. Oh, it was. Hey, Mommy Imani. May you rest in power. Thank you for your service to the youth, developing African-centered schools in Detroit, and your very Pisces-ness and your compassion. 22 West Magazine. Let's see what they have to say about Kwanzaa. Make the world more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it, it urged the keynote speaker at the pre-Kwanzaa celebration on Tuesday. Where the principles at, people? Where the principles? Oh, yeah, that wasn't the right article to pull up. I had found one that I kind of liked, but I did not find it again. Kwanzaa principles. Let's try the inter-exchange. I think this is the one. This is my standby. Okay. So Faith Imani is the 7th one. I guess they put Faith on the 7th day, which is like Sunday. So I might even start to remember that. But okay, so now we're looping back around to Umoja, which is one, like the first day, one, unity, Umoja. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, the community, the nation, and the race. Strive for and maintain unity. So how do you strive for unity? What does that mean? What exactly does it mean to strive for unity? I think that's worth thinking about. How do we try to work together? How do we try to be united? Is there something that we're consciously doing? Is there an approach? Is there an organizing principle? Is there a way of thinking about things? My mouth tastes baking soda-y. Let's see what the Buddha is saying. Did the Buddha say anything today? There you go, at 10:12. They done switched things up on us. Ever working toward that goal. Yo, Buddha, what up, though? What up, though? That's how Detroiters say it. What up, though? And I don't know where that come from. What up, though? Just as rust arising from iron eats away the base from which it arises, even so their own deeds lead transgressors to states of woe. Whoa. I don't even remember this one. I don't know if I care. Let's reframe this. Why are we talking about the transgressors? Let's talk about the progressors. Okay. So what builds the base? What enriches the base? I don't know. But yeah. So when you do things that are productive and add value, it's productive and it adds value to you. How about that? Let us proceed with notes on the news feed from a news feed. It's coming. Why Issa Rae is afraid to publicly fail like Will Smith. Proceed. I got permission. Do I have permission from my elders to proceed? Do they do that in your community? And then people be kind of half-butted about it. Sometimes they ask, sometimes they don't. Then they be looking at people, and the people they be looking at be like, I ain't your elder. Don't be looking at me for permission. Why Issa Rae is afraid to publicly fail like Will Smith. I remember I read a book years ago called Failing Forward, and this idea of, I think in life in general, I think a lot of us are guided by fear. And I've like, I guess that's something I've really tried to like work to release and be guided by love. We tried, that was our yesterday we talked about it. When I lean toward love, I am led. Like, be guided by God, be guided by love, be guided by, and then, because otherwise I feel like you're investing your energy into um stuff that's not God, it's not love, it's not like, for what, why, and that, I remember people talking about, in the context of work and business. Yeah, he's had some movies that were flops. She's saying this is her third season with her TV show. I guess I didn't want to speak specifically about them, except that they're public figures, but just about this concept of fear of failure. And, I remember one person being like, you're playing to not lose, which is totally different from playing to win. And I think about that, like, I don't know all the time, but I think about that a lot. Like, wow, what does that mean? Like, to play to not lose. That just kind of gave me pause and it's giving me something. It's giving me food for thought for many, many years. Like, I still think about that. And I think that, when you're a public figure, hey, Frank G, welcome on the chat. When you're a public figure, and I think even when you're not a public figure, I think a lot of times we can be guided by, you know, by fear. And even for me, some of my experience of, being in church, sometimes when I'm around, church people, that's what I hear. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. And I'm like, well, maybe, if you do, like, maybe, like, I just decided I'm going to be guided by love. And also, this is off the subject, but I can't fool God. So if I'm just like doing this, like, well, I'm gonna do this because I don't want to go to hell. God already know my heart. Right? I said to people, it's not enough to win. You have to lose. Not really. But there are people that feel that way. I don't know about that one. I have to look at it again later. Um, but this, like, just guided by fear. Like, I just hear a lot of fear vibration. Hi, Mary Jane. You got the electrical, the peace. Oh, you found a peace sign? I do nothing based on fear. I only do things based on love. Well, that's brilliant. You're an unusual person, I think. But I don't know. But it's something that I really try to be conscious of and pay attention to and check myself and just check in with myself on it. Why, what's really going on? Is this about fear? Stop lying, Yapo. Hey, Sonya sees. Oh, this is not even funny. But if it's not love, then what is it? And that's really what I like. I really don't. I want to say, is it love or is it not love? I don't. If it's fear, anger, whatever the other. But I just feel like, hey, Sandra Brown, peace. Um, Suicide study shows disturbing trend among Black women. I mean, among Black children. Is it survival? So I guess that while suicide rates for Black people, they say in this particular study, are lower than suicide rates for white people, um, based on the necessity of the situation. Yeah. Um, so, but they say that for children, the suicide rate for Black children is up higher. Now, you know what it made me think about when I saw this is two things. On these today during the notes on the news, we're going to talk about have the highest suicide rate. Wow. Today on notes on the news, we're going to talk about the brother from the Center for Disease Control who disappeared. And at first, when he disappeared, there was a whole, everybody got the news that he didn't get a promotion, and that's why he disappeared. And then later, we heard that that was not the case. He was not turned down for a promotion, but now they're saying that the results have come in and that his death is being ruled as suicide. And some people are like, why is it being ruled as suicide and not an accidental death? But anyway, just and then like the other day, not too long ago, yeah, that was crazy. And then the other day, not too long ago, I think I didn't really read the articles, but I think there were some people hanging from trees down south, and the officials, the white people officials, are saying that that was suicide. And so like I guess two things came up for me with suicide. Like, and then there was a black woman who was a member of the National Conference of Black Lawyers who was in New York, and she supposedly committed suicide. But it was like a lot of these situations are like the child who was on her way to a new job driving down south. She got pulled over, taken to jail. Then the next thing you know, they claim that she committed suicide. So there's like this whole dynamic of, I feel like, false book BS suicides, and then also, I guess I was thinking about the young boy. We didn't talk in depth about him yesterday, but there was a little boy that showed up on the news feed yesterday who was 12 years old and talked about being bullied in school. And it's like we're seeing story after story after story of, young people who are like the only one in their school or one of a few in their school and are bullied, harassed, made fun of, like just all kinds of like an extra layer of stress and distress that they deal with. Because I feel like adolescence and growing up is already kind of like can be stressful. You know what I mean? For like many people, it's like, oh my, the hormones, you're trying to figure things out. It's a lot going on for you. And then you layer on people, calling you names because, like it's just, so I just like that little boy, the 12-year-old, I felt some way about that story yesterday or about that headline yesterday, because I just feel like 12 is really, really young. 12 is really, really young to be out here having to fend for yourself, and I feel like, not to say that his parents aren't providing food and clothing for him. I'm not saying he's fending for himself like that, but I'm talking about fending for yourself emotionally. And I feel like at that age, young people really need protection. That's how I feel. And maybe it's because when I got to college, I encountered a bunch of young people who had been put in there were these two big programs for black students. I wasn't a part of them, but I ended up being in schools with a bunch of people who had been a part of them. One was called ABC, A Better Chance. And I don't even like that language, because it's like they would take the children out of their black and brown communities. They would test for children who tested well on standardized tests, take them out of their black and brown communities so that they would have a better chance. And then a lot of them went to elite boarding schools where they were harassed. And already those schools, a lot of them have a culture of hazing, period. But especially for a young person who is just vulnerable in so many ways, it was, it just seemed like a really hostile thing. And then the other one was Prep for Prep, and I'm not exactly sure how that program would work, but they were preparing the children again for elite prep schools. And so I encountered, by the time I got to college, I hadn't been through that system, but I encountered a lot of brilliant, smart, jacked up black people. They were like just very confused and lost, a lot of them. And it was like I was at home in Black Detroit with my smart black mother, who was a lawyer, doing the most around black people who were successful. And these children were like being brutalized. So by the time we got to college, it was kind of like, they were articulate. They were, it wasn't anything you could see on the surface, but it was like it was a lot that was wrong to me. Like I feel like, what's wrong? I kept trying to figure out like what's wrong with these people, and then I like started learning about some of the types of experiences they had. And so that's what I feel like, these kids are in these schools. And they're one of a few. Hey, Leotis, they're one of a few. They're being harassed, they're being brutalized by their teachers, by their peers. And so, it does make me like, wonder about this whole suicide thing as it relates to them. Like, how, like, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know if that's a lot of us, if that's most of us, if it's a few of us. But, when I thought about the young people committing suicide, young Black people committing suicide at higher rates, at least according to this study, it made me think we are so integrated, we are unable to put a proper dispense. So this violence against us, we just wait for the next incident and wait for the next one and wait for the next one. Right. Like when and how, like not just when, but how do we say, okay, enough, it's over, it's a wrap, we finished, no more? How do we say that? Like in this context, in this society, it's very confusing to me, you know, like, because even, in terms of like boycotting businesses or not patronizing businesses or not being in certain types of environments, it's like the isolationism can only go so far. There are certain times and places where, and I try to minimize, my interaction with certain types of, with certain types of things. But there are times and places where, we're in this society, like we are going to, deal with other people in the society who are not for us, who do not love us, who, wish us ill will. And how, I don't know. So not just the, yeah, just how, like practically, how does it look when we're like, okay, enough already. It's a wrap. I'm done. I'm out of here. I can imagine it on a personal level. And a lot of times I think of things on a personal level and then try to project them into a community. So like in a relationship, I totally understand how I'd be like, hey sis, it's, in my mind, I'd be like, we cool, but we not cool like that. And I see you, I'm like, hey, but we not hanging out no more. It's a wrap in my head, or man, whatever. But I can't really quite understand how we as Black folks do that in the context of this community. So, just thinking about that. Dang, I done closed this get down. So, Tommy Lauren during hip hop brunch, her mom comes to her rescue. Am I the only one spooling? I don't have any indication here that get them weak with integration. Whites don't do shit without the benefit. It was another successful strategy by the enemy. Yeah, I'm well, sister. Hey, I didn't see Lakiva come in. Hey, Lakiva, wherever you are. Oh, hey, hey. Okay, thanks. So, I don't know why the woman went to the hip hop brunch, but the people threw a drink on her. Um, I don't even know why. Like, it's something that I want to say about that story, but I can't quite articulate it, and I really, um, I don't know. Um, but I do feel. I guess I feel like in a way, I kind of feel glad. Like, yeah, I think that there's something to be said for being polite and something to be said for being cordial. And I also kind of feel like, and I guess some people are polite and cordial and some people aren't. So I'm not opposed, I don't think I'm going to be the person who's throwing hey, Marlowe's Corner. I don't think I'm going to be the person who's throwing a drink on somebody who's like a piece of boo boo. But I don't know if I'd be like, no, stop, don't throw the drink. I just turn my head the other way and be like, yeah, karma, thank you. I will refresh the page. I may have to go off and come back on. No, don't go. Okay. Meghan Markle's royal bio mentions women's periods, and here's why that matters. So, I thought it was interesting, not specifically because it's Meghan Markle. Hello to all the kings and queens in the chat. I think it's interesting, not so much because of who it is, but just this idea that, like, you know, I think there are like a lot of things that we don't talk about, and a lot of things that we don't talk about have to do with a piss. I just made a freestyle naming all my family, and YouTube won't let me upload it. Really? Hmm. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, it seemed like there's like a lot of squeamishness around women and around like, like femininity and like, like, oh my God, women bleed and have periods. And sometimes it's kind of weird because, it's one thing, I think, if someone is like 12 or 11, but I've also, encountered like grown men who seem to like have like a real, and it's just very like weird to me. So I just think it's good, like, I just feel like, people are like human beings, and like, women are part of society, and like, I don't think it should be like any like, you know, oh my God, you can't say the word period, or someone is on their period, because if somebody on their period now, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, people aren't human. People aren't human. They aren't. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And they're like, hey, August Dreams. They're like, it's like it's a headline that she mentions women's periods. You kicking the truth and they can't stand it. Actor Robert De Niro says he has banned Trump from all locations of his swanky restaurant chain that's beloved by the rich and famous. I don't really know how you do that practically. Like when the person come to the door, you just be like, I don't, but anyway, excuse me. Trayvon's parents say Weinstein's company owes them $150,000. I think that he had like optioned the rights to do a movie or something. I'm not really quite clear on it, but and then I guess now he's had all this legal trouble, and I don't know if the company has gone bankrupt. I'm not really understanding what's going on. But anyway, they say they in the line of creditors, pay me, pay us. A student engineer saved a man's life mid-flight using a ballpoint pen, and we're seriously impressed. Now, I think that the doctor and the engineer combined, the person was having like a do y'all call it a diabetes attack? But the person had like, I think, fainted and was foaming at the mouth, or I'm not really sure. But he was having like a diabetic crisis. His brother just took over, Weinstein. So the doctor had and see, Pandora's box, that's like an allusion to like femininity. Pandora's box is full of wonderfulness and beauty, not bullshit. I'm not really joking, but no, yeah. Um, so there was a doctor on board, I think, from what I understood in the story, who had like a diet, like a insulin something, but the insulin thing that the doctor had was like a slow release insulin thing. And this person was in crisis, so he needed something quick, fast, and in a hurry. And so the engineer did something with a pen to, he engineered something on the spot for to help save the person's life. So I thought that was kind of cool. I like the idea of creativity. I remember I had this one mechanic, and he worked on my car, and he was really, really good, to the point where I had that cabrio, I had that convertible. Sometimes he couldn't find parts for it, and I remember one time he's like, I just can't find the part, and he had called me and everything, and then when I came to get my car, he had engineered a part for it, and I never had any problem. And I was just like so impressed with him. Like I was just like, I just thought that was like really awesome. Like, he created the part, you know? And I mean, if you go to the store and buy it, somebody created it. But, I don't know. I just thought that was like amazing. Okay. I'm back. Welcome back, Rottweiler. And he was a student engineer, not even a full-fledged engineer. Giant predatory worms are invading France, and nobody noticed for almost 2 decades. 2 decades is like 20 years, almost 20 years, nobody noticed. And now I guess they just there, and like, is it too late? Is France over? I don't know. But some gardener noticed, he kept digging up flat something, and he was, like, this is not right. And so now I guess they on the case. They eat worms, don't they? Escargot. Escargot is snail. I don't know. But maybe these giant predatory worms are not edible. Have you ever had escargot? I've never had escargot. Snails. Ew. Yeah, we don't like France. NFL clubs to be fined if players kneel. So I read that headline, but then somebody was telling me that you get like a penalty, like 15 yards. And then my mother was like, well, if both teams do it, it'll cancel it out or something. But anyway, the NFL gets on my nerves. They really, really get on my nerves with this bullshit. They really, really get on my nerves. I can't stand, that this is like, but one thing that I do like about this is that I just think, wow, that, biracial child with his afro, he just sat down and then he kneeled. He don't really say that much. Sometimes he wear the socks that say fuck white people or whatever. His socks sometimes have a message, but he don't be out here just, clowning and like trying to get the spotlight and, all of that. But it's just like really interesting and I think inspirational to think, sometimes just small things, and often probably small subtle things are really, really important, so we notice some big things, and celebrate some big things, but a lot of times just small gestures and small decisions are significant, you know he ain't even in the NFL. They still fighting against him, against that little decision that he made. Like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna what is it? Stand for the national anthem of a country that ain't standing up for me. Nah, I say no, no, thank you. The NFL players are an embarrassment. They only honor Massa's whip. Now, this is a little bitty fly, like a 1-day old fly or something that's bigger than a fruit fly. I don't know where all the flies are coming from. I don't know if windows aren't attracted because I told y'all this is the first time I've ever sat in the window seats. And then I don't know if by having this barrier up, that's about to fall down, if that's making it like more of like a cubby hole, like, ooh, this is coon flies. Ooh, this is like a cozy place to hang out. I don't know what's going on. Um, Okay. Vandal behind racist graffiti on campus is not what students expected. This is in Michigan. I think it's at Eastern Michigan University. And according to the investigations of the police, they've done 1,000, I think it was 1,000 hours of research. They came up with a black guy who wrote KKK on the spray painted it or whatever, and NIGGER. And I don't know. It's kind of a weird story to me. Like, why? Why would he do it? And they say he's already in jail or already in trouble for stealing or something. He was only a student for a semester or a year or something. It's like a weird story to me. I didn't really understand. Yeah. But you know what? If you go to bed and hey, Mike Biggs boxing, if you go to bed, you're probably when you wake up, it might, like if you were up all night working, your mind might be working a different way. You probably on a different frequency from loading a video up on YouTube. So probably, yeah, you need to carry your black behind the bed and then you're gonna wake up and it's gonna be like issue resolved. He fabulous. I saw, hey, good night, COG, conscious of genocide. Rest well. Okay. Um, so anyway, that's what's going on in Michigan. Black people, they say out here, harassing the black people. And think of the stress and distress that it caused to the black people, the fellow black people on the campus. Why? If you did it, why? If you did it, why? Mark Cuban and Barbara Corrigan just invested $400,000 in this avocado only restaurant. I don't eat avocado. And I think I could see where I could see where I could see in New York where something niche like that would work well. I don't know how that's going to like translate into, I don't know. But they have smoothie only spots and they have popcorn only spots. I went to, I think it's Garrett's yesterday at the event. They had Garrett's popcorn and I ate. It was like a combination of caramel corn and cheese corn. It was really good. And I didn't expect it to be good, but it was really good. Wake up with enlightenment. Yes, my brother. Wake up with enlightenment. Rest well. So anyway, that's what's going on in the world of restaurateurs. And what's the name of that TV show? The Shark Tank. Medical examiners issue surprising ruling on what killed missing CDC scientists. We talked about that. I don't know. I know avocado only. But people who are into avocados are like probably very into avocados. I don't know. Okay. So we talked about the fact that they saying it was suicide, and some people are like, well, why was it not ruled an accidental death, and was it really a suicide? I like avocado. Sounds good. Well, you go check it out for us, and give us the report. Italian slash Puerto Rican judge says he called black defendant a racial slur because of his New York upbringing. He's saying, I think it was like mulo, I don't know what it is. Have you ever heard of ghetto gastro? No. I don't know what the term was. It wasn't familiar to me. It must be an Italian term. I don't know. I don't know if I know all the slurs. I was gonna say, because I know all the slurs. I don't know if I know all the slurs. But I notice sometimes in my head, like I'm trying to stop saying PUNK because, and a lot of times it seems like it comes up a lot. I read that story. Oh, so is there anything we need to know about it? It seems like it comes up a lot, like with certain people, I'd be like, that punk, who already said it. That, it's like in my head, and it's like, it's just like pounding around in my head, and I don't know how to like get it out without saying it. So I don't know if that's like how, I don't know if that's how the N word is for some people. I've read that recently in some work, or if that's like how, how this term was for him. But I think he should be fined. And, I feel like, I think that, we can all afford to grow and develop. I don't think that I don't think that any of us is perfect. And I don't think, I'm just tired of the dry apologies. Did he apologize? He didn't apologize. He said, that's just my upbringing. If that's an apology, that ain't no apology to me, but maybe I didn't read the article. But yeah, but I feel like he should be fined, and I guess he should apologize, but I wouldn't, his apology don't mean nothing to me. But I feel like we can all, grow and evolve and become more progressive, things that seem to make sense to us. I'm so tired. Oh, she's so tired of they dry apologies. Y'all want me to do the sorry monologue from what I remember? One thing I don't need is any more apologies. I got sorry greeting me at my front doorstep. You can keep yours. I don't know what to do with them. They don't bring the sun back or open doors. There's a line I keep forgetting. Didn't nobody stop doing something, but it's a line before that. I can't remember. That used to be my audition monologue years ago when I was like 12. What did I know about sorry when I was 12? But when I saw that show, I just thought that sorry don't shine my shoes. Yeah, I just thought that monologue, I was just like, oh my gosh, it just seems so like, woo, that's a convenient excuse to fall back on. Have you ever, do you feel like are there areas in your life where you feel sorry don't pay my bills? Do you feel like there are areas in your life where you've learned and evolved, and maybe you're a different person now from the person you were, 5 or 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 2 years ago, or 6 months ago? I mean, I think, most of these apologies, y'all already know how I feel, but yeah, anyway. Okay. Um, Janet Jackson gave a 19-year-old, look, here's another story about stuff we don't really talk about much. Janet Jackson gave a 19-year-old, sorry, don't uncock my eye. Sorry, don't uncock my eye. Didn't nobody stop wearing eye patches because of sorry? Janet Jackson gave a 19-year-old Jenna Dewan a box of vibrators, and the actress refers to the gift as a pleasure chest. So I remember this reminded me of when I was in college. There was a woman who ran a program for Black and Latina students. I wasn't part of the program. I ended up doing tutoring and stuff, but I didn't come in through the program. But I would be around her all the time because that's where like a lot of the Black and brown folks were. That's where it was like a supportive environment. My mother was a judge. So I thought about law school, and I was like, oh, I could go to law school and then I could be an advocate. And it's like, I could be an advocate without going to law school. I don't need to go to law school. Yeah, I don't know how to invite people. I want to do like conference calls, but I don't know how to do that either. But something something I was about to say. Oh, so this woman, I'm not going to say her name because I can't think of it now, but she ran, oh, I just thought of her name, but she ran the program. And whenever you would go into the office or into the space, people would be talking about sex. And it was like very like disturbing to me, like, oh my God, they're always talking about sex around here. Like, what's going on? But like as I got older, I realized that because it's something that people didn't talk about a lot, that she didn't want, it was an all women's college. She didn't want, us to be out here, afraid to talk about sex, not knowing anything, not knowing who we were, how we felt. She wanted to like desensitize us to, and then, so it was actually very healthy, but it made me feel very, very uncomfortable. I'm just like, what is this? This den of iniquity. Yeah, not inequity, iniquity. I think they're two different things. I think one is like a whole house, and then the other is like it's unequal. But I don't know. I have to look it up now. But anyway, it was a den. So I don't know how they felt. They're two different words. You would have been so folk. We start in diapers, grow into cloths. Finally, we end up in diapers again. That's strange, Yapo, how we regress. I don't plan on doing that though. It's a cycle. But see, the next time when you're in diapers, it's a whole different kind of diaper. It's a whole different kind of diaper. You have a whole different consciousness. My bad. What are you? 27. AOL founder Steve Case is traveling the U.S. investing in local businesses through his $150 million seed fund. Here are the 5 most recent entrepreneurs to get $100,000 each. I don't know who they are, but I like the idea of people going around investing in people's businesses and giving people money. Hey, Bonafide 1970, thank you for the flower. And the other day too, I didn't say thank you. Wael Abbas, prominent Egyptian blogger, arrested. So I don't know how his lawyer found out, but the lawyers say that the man was taken out of his house in the middle of the night with his head covered. That don't sound like a normal arrest to me. That sounds like that sounds nefarious. That doesn't sound that sounds like a bad situation. And then blogger, we were talking about journalism and journalists and, who gets information out and who's sharing what's really going on. And, so anyway, I guess that his blogation, somebody didn't like what he was saying. A number of bloggers and activists are reported to have been detained since President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi was reelected for a second term in March. Human rights groups have accused him of overseeing an unprecedented crackdown on dissent. And dissent is a funny thing. Like, I don't know, it seems like it takes a mature person or a maturity to like be here for somebody saying something negative about you. Like, I feel like if somebody was like protesting me or like, we hate Angela, would I just be like, oh, okay, well, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Would I be like, off with their head, kill them? I don't know. I don't know if I'd have like the real, maturity if it came down to it to be like, yeah, everybody entitled to their opinion. I don't know. Although I can't say that I'm, people have said all kinds of negative things about me all my life. So I'm probably, it probably is not that. I'm probably not as sensitive to it as I might think I am. Mississippi officers fired in beating a black man could face more charges. So this was in Laurel, Mississippi, which is about a half hour from where I used to live when I lived in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So the officers were fired. Now, somebody said, and I don't think we talked about it, but in terms of like yesterday, we were talking about, or yesterday or the other day, we were talking about these priests who have been molesting the children. And somebody is like, well, ain't none of them been, charged with a crime? And I was kind of like, to me, it's a question. I don't know. Have any of them been charged with a crime? I don't think I've heard of any of them being charged with a crime. And the same thing, like the worst thing that it seems like happens to these people who, are caught on tape beating the hell out of people or killing people or whatever is that they lose their job or they get suspended for 2 days. But we don't see them being prosecuted by the system. Um, yeah. So I don't know if I might, I think as in my older age, I'm becoming more and more of a free spirit, but dang. I don't know how I hit this article. A couple have actually gone to prison, but that's the exception. So they're under further investigation. A number of facial contusions after being pursued and beaten. He approached a police checkpoint in his car and turned around. And that was something else I noticed. Now, I don't know if they have checkpoints throughout the country, but in where I live, the particular, like in the black community on the weekends, a lot of times they would set up like checkpoints, like to supposedly to test for sobriety, and I guess also to check for people's IDs, to see if because they didn't check for insurance papers. They had that hustle in Detroit, but they checked for, I think they were checking for IDs, like for Mexicans that they could deport or something. I'm not really clear. But I think the main thing they were trying to do is catch people, drinking. But it seemed like from what I heard, now I lived in a black community. And so, but I started hearing later that they didn't do that in every community. They only did it in the black community. But since I was in the black community, I thought they were doing it. And so, sometimes when you're driving down the street, if a checkpoint is coming up, the people will flash their lights at you to let you know. They don't even know you, but it's just like, look, turn around now if anything is going on because they're trying to catch people up. So I thought that's interesting. Check inspection stickers. Yeah. Do you drive? Are you in New York? Lots around St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day. And then it seemed like the culture in Mississippi, it seemed like there was this one place where it seemed like almost every 2 or 3 weeks they would be repairing the fence. And I was so confused. And my husband is like, people drive drunk, and the way this corner is, it's like it's just common for drunk people to not be able to make this curve or whatever. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, it's so common for people to drive, but it was like all the time the fence was getting repaired. But it just seemed like the culture of like drinking was like a big thing. Um, so this person turned around at a checkpoint, and that's why they say they had to beat him. Oh, okay. Yeah. I lived in Montclair, New Jersey, but I commuted. I took a bus. There was a bus that came right in front of the Y, and I take it into the city. So for the most part, when I was in that region, I didn't drive, even when I lived in New Jersey. Now I had a friend who was in Teaneck, and she drove, but that was after she became domesticated. No, actually, she drove before because she lived in Washington Heights, and that's how she would pick me up. I take the train to Harlem, and then we ride to the Bronx together. So she drove then too. Um, is it illegal for victims of rape or incest? Oh, give a friend a present. Well, go ahead, give the friend a present. It is illegal. Oh no, that's the doorbell, not the chime. Is it illegal for victims of rape or incest to have an abortion? Oh, no, not is it. It is. This is not a question. This is a statement. It is illegal for victims of rape or incest to have an abortion in Ireland. Here's why that needs to change. So, just the whole conversation or whole article talking about abortion in the context of Ireland. Um, that whole abortion conversation is deep. The dead man's curve on your way to Cleveland. I'm your friend too, Bonafide. Where are my gifts? Right. Be careful out there. Mm. Um, the White House lawn has developed a big sinkhole. Here's probably what caused it. They say it's rain. It seemed like I never started hearing about sinkholes until about 5 or 10 years ago, but they say they're common. I did not know. I thought it was something going on, like something like the world is coming to an end because we're having all of these sinkholes. Like, didn't last year a sinkhole open up and somebody's like whole house went into the sinkhole? DNA sampling may help scientists find the Loch Ness Monster. So this article is saying that, some people don't believe that the Loch Ness Monster exists, and some people swear that they have seen the Loch Ness Monster. But it makes me think about, like, do you believe in, for the mess? Like, do you believe in aliens? Like, do you believe in, like, yes, this may seem like a crazy question to some people, but do you believe that Jesus Christ was a real person? Do you believe in aliens? Like, what do you believe in? And, like, to some people it may seem silly what you believe in, but to you it may seem like, yeah, I've seen the Loch Ness Monster, you know? And, like, how do you know they haven't seen the Loch Ness Monster? Like, even when I say it out loud, like somebody's seen the Loch Ness Monster, it sounds kind of crazy to me. Or like when I say, oh, somebody says they've been abducted by aliens, I kind of think, But then if I think about it, I'm like, well, how do I know they haven't been abducted by aliens or seen the Loch Ness Monster? Just because I haven't, that I'm aware of or can recall, been abducted by aliens, that don't mean you haven't. Just because I haven't seen the Loch Ness Monster, how I know what you've seen? See, you saw Sasquatch. See. So they're gonna use some scientific research to try to establish. And the thing about it is like, I feel like, I don't know if you can, like, really, unless you catch him or her or them or whatever, how can you establish, like, I don't know how the DNA helps. Interdimensional and not extraterrestrial. I don't see why they couldn't be extraterrestrial. Hey, Rowdy Chica. And they're just unidentified. I feel like there are so many things we don't know. That's why they're not subject to our natural laws. I don't even feel like we necessarily understand the natural laws. They don't need DNA sampling. It's 2018, and they have satellites that can see what you're reading from space. If they want to find out a thing, they could just scan their satellite records. I'm assuming that's where you were going. Okay, HTC's newest phone is see-through, squeezable, and has some of the most futuristic features of any high-end smartphone. I was talking to this woman today, yesterday, these two women yesterday at this event about, they were just like really, really in distress about, being around young people and extraterrestrial. You could go any place in the universe. Would you come here? I don't know. This might be a wonderful place when you compare it to every place else in the universe. I haven't been to any that I'm aware of. I haven't been to any place. So I might come here. Shoot, I don't know. And these women were just like really in distress about, from their perspective, young people's inability to make eye contact. A lot of times young people's intense focus on their, is in the White House. Young people's Toledo, but wait, no, I don't know. When we moved from Mississippi and we drove, we ended up spending some time in Ohio. And there was one place, I don't know if it was Toledo, but there was one place I went, they had like this big grocery store that was like, I think it was like a zoo themed grocery store or something on the outside. But we like hung out and I'm like, oh, I should like come back. It's only a couple hours away, but it just seemed like a fun place to me. I like a good international market. It was a big, good international market. Or Fresno. Toledo might be cool. I don't know. It's one place that's like an hour away from me in Ohio. I can never remember whether it's Toledo or Cleveland or whatever. It's just all Ohio to me. But I went to a party there and the people seemed cool. I might want to move there. I don't know. So would you like to have a see-through squeezable phone? Do you feel like young people, or do you feel like you don't interact with human beings enough? Because I was saying how I'm always like, any place but Fresno, how I believe that space aliens might be checking out the earth in the same way that people might check out a zoo or a petri dish. They might be checking out the earth the same way you might go to Broadway. Like maybe we're fabulous and wonderful. And they're like, yay, let's go to earth. It's fun there. But how I'm always like connect with people in real life, make real human contact with people, look in real people's eyes, touch people. Like, we can't always be dealing with people through these screens, relate, bring people gifts, all of that kind of stuff. We gotta, you know, but they were really, really distressed. It was very interesting. Um, um, it's disturbing. Not them. We primitive and savage. How do you? Okay. BMW speedy, stylish EV chargers will spread across Europe. Probably not. They have been cited many, many times over the year. If they came here once, they would be like, F that. Shoot, you don't know where they coming from. You might go to their place and be like, shoot, Earth look mighty good. I'm going back to Earth. I thought I didn't like it, but it's all frame of reference. You don't know what their frame of reference is. Area 54, Roswell. LeBron James. Y'all know that's my new best friend. LeBron James caused a stir when he appeared to intentionally throw a towel out of reach of a Trump supporter. So I don't understand the concept of the throwing of the towel, but I guess the person had on a Make America Great t-shirt or hat or whatever, and which is why they don't just step up and say, we come in peace. They know they'll wind up on an autopsy table. Um, so I don't know, like, do you throw the towels like here's a souvenir, and like the person was like, oh, like Mardi Gras, like, oh, beads, throw me beads, and like instead of throwing the beads at you, they threw the beads someplace where you couldn't get the beads. I love LBJ, LeBron James. Yeah. Oh, so anyway, yeah, it just, I mean, I don't like, this did not diminish my obsession with LeBron James. I don't think it's obsession, but I'm just like fascinated by him right now. I'm just like, every time I hear something about LeBron, I feel like LeBron, LeBron. I don't know why. That's just how I feel. That's how I feel. Is it foolish? That's how I feel. So that's why we talk about LeBron James. FBI admits to overcounting inaccessible mobile devices. So there was this thing I remember where they were like, "Me too, girl." Oh, we should get together. I don't know much about them. I was gonna say we should get together and talk about them, but I don't really know anything about them. Um, so the FBI is like, remember there was this thing a few years ago where they were like, we need to get into this phone, Apple, unlock this phone so we can get into it. And Apple's like, no, once the people put the lock on it, he's a great guy. We not unlocking the phone. And then the FBI went in through a back door or whatever. And then they're like, it's millions of phones that we can't get into because of this daggone lock. But now they're saying they overestimated. I don't think they said millions, but whatever they said, the number they was putting 20 on 10, as Forrest Rock says. You're entitled to your feelings. So let's go into that a little bit more. I don't know if I got the voice right, but I heard it in my head. FBI, okay, so we talked about the FBI. North Korea reportedly ghosted U.S. officials ahead of scheduled pre-summit meeting in Singapore. So I guess it's like meetings, to plan the meeting so that the meeting goes smoothly. And then the people for the U.S., they like, okay, the pre-meeting is March 22nd in Singapore or wherever. They get to the meeting and North Koreans supposed to be there, and North Koreans ain't there. Federal Reserve, more than 4 out of 10 Americans do not even have enough money to cover an unexpected $400 expense. So this is this is not a new story, although this is coming off this blog I told y'all that I keep meaning to delete. But this conversation I think is really, really important. And I heard somebody on the Sister Circle talk about, we got stood up, right? We got stood up as well. We should have. Now, I've been stood up. I don't think I ever should have gotten stood up, but Trump should have got stood up. That's a ghost. And Trump's people, all of that. So I was watching on Sister Circle while I was passing by, and they said, the woman was like, from your paycheck or from your money, even if you just save $5 each paycheck. Yes, it does. And I think that's part of, like, I don't know if you were here, but like when we're like, okay, enough is enough, it's a wrap, it's done. Is that when, we just, you know, have you ever seen the play A Day of Absence by Douglas Turner Ward? I did it once when I was a high school student. When I was in high school, I got paid to be an actor. Like they used something called the Summer Youth Employment Program, and in Detroit, the Detroit Council of the Arts had a thing where they hired. One year I was a dancer, and one year I was an actor. But my first year, the Negras. I've heard of the play, but never saw it. I never saw it. I was in it. I wish I would like to see it. And so it's done by an all black cast in whiteface. So it's a really interesting concept. I really want to do it again, like right now. Because I just think it's just really interesting. But like if we just were like, it's a wrap. We're not gonna play in the NFL. We're not gonna play in the NBA. We're not gonna go to your jobs no more. We not gonna. We just gonna do our own thing. Like what would happen? You know, like what if we just did that? We gonna, like what would happen? Would they like come in with arms and guns and knives and stuff and be like, get to work, get back into our system? Um, the Nigras, Nigras, I think it was. Um, yeah. And it was like a crisis when theater Germany. Fun fact, I played the part of God, who was supposed to be a black American, the resurrection of Black Wall Street. I think, like, for example, Jada the Smiths, I think they have a production company and they've done a couple of things. Um, I think there are a couple of things that contribute to the fact that some of us don't have, like, if those of us who watch reality TV, Rashida, she has been her own independent business person since she got into, as I understand it, she's been independently promoting and selling like out of her trunk her music. She's never been like with a big label and never cultivated that. So she hasn't been a big star in the way that some other people have been a big star, but she's been independent. But a lot of us, I think, sort of like, don't necessarily have the consciousness and the confidence to be independent. I wish all the football players would unite and take a knee. Heck, don't even show up. He has a production company too. I used to watch Survivor's Remorse. That's LeBron James, isn't it? And that's when I kind of started being like, I like, there's some stuff about this story that I really like. Um, but I think you kind of have to have like a confidence too. Like I think, we think, oh, see, yeah, LeBron James. Because I really like his cousin who was, had some sense, and that the family was trying to like be progressive and trying to like preserve their wealth and not spend I liked, there was some interesting stuff going on there. Um, yeah. So to be like, I'm going to be independent and to really feel, because it's sort of like sometimes, like for example, women will be like, oh well, I'm just going, but then when it get down to it, they be like, okay sir, whatever you say, you could cheat on me, you could lie to me, I'm just going to stay with you because I'm afraid to be alone. And I think like as black people, we'd be like, oh, we just going to leave, but then we'd be like, well, maybe we not as smart or good as white people, so we got to stick with the program because we might not be able to make it on our own. Like I think you have to have a certain confidence to be like, F you, forget you. I'm gonna do my thing my way. And it's gonna be my thing my way. Um, some of us tend to only support names. Yeah. I think some of us, but I think, again, I think his culture and values and, what are we teaching our children and, what are we doing? What choices are we making? How are we breaking? How are we separating? How are we breaking, the stuff that's not serving us? Like if it's not for me, why am I doing it? If it's not adding value to me and mine, yeah. And I don't, I still argue against this term of detox. I think it should be like a step to by step, you know, nutritional infusion. How can we infuse ourselves with ourselves, instead of like a focus on getting rid of something, a focus on what are we inviting in, what are we feeding, what are we encouraging. But same general idea, just But yeah. So on that, the federal more than so on Sister Circle, the woman was saying, even if, and I don't know why it hit me today, but she like, even if you just say $5 a pay period, that's building the muscle. $5 may not seem like much, but it's the muscle. And that concept of building the muscle got me kind of the concept of building the muscle is what kind of like really kind of captured my imagination. Like, what muscles are we building? What are we practicing? What are our little habits? What are our big habits? And how can we, even if it's in a little small way, how can we move in the direction of where we want to go? Maybe I can't just totally all and out be like, well, I'm out of this relationship because it's not healthy for me. But maybe there are some small steps that I can start taking that build that muscle, so that then I'm able to start taking some bigger steps that build that muscle, so that then I'm able to take some even bigger steps. You know what I mean? So, what muscles can we start to develop even in little ways that might seem inconsequential? That are significant and are important. So like, if you look at setting goals and like trying to get someplace, you might think, well, I'm trying to get all the way to across the room, but turning this way is progress. Like, is it Martin Luther King who said, if you can't fly, run; if you can't run, walk; if you can't walk, crawl. Yeah. And maybe it doesn't ever have to leave. Maybe, the money just circulates in our community, you know, or very little of it has to leave. So yeah, I think that's important. And also just the public service announcement, just start saving money, start spending less money, and just, have some reserves, be more conservative, live on less than you make. Live on less than you make. Don't live on more than you make. That's the debt principle. Live on less than you make. Crawl, then walk, then jog, then run, then fly. I remember I had this one girlfriend, and she was always telling me how she was jogging. And I was like, oh, she's jogging. So I was like, I'm going to go out jogging with her one day. But I'm like, girl, I am not a jogger, but I'm going to walk. But we gonna go out and we going to do this thing. And so one day I finally went out with her, and she was jogging. She jogged like this. And I understood. I'm like, oh, she's jogging, not running, because I was walking faster than her. But she was like, moving her body. I'm like, oh, you're jogging. Okay, see you later, sis. Well, maybe you are the new B1 leadership. What are you doing to provide leadership to yourself and to your family and your community? I feel like it's important for us to, every time that we look outside of ourselves, hey, Kendrick, every time that we look outside of ourselves for the answer, to, take that opportunity to check ourselves and look inside of ourselves for the answer, and to look back to ourselves to ask ourselves, how can, like, they say when you point a finger outward, like, what are you doing? Then it's three or four fingers pointing back at you, and be like, well, what am I doing? And or what can I do? And or what can I do more of? You know, we got to save ourselves. It ain't nobody out here that's going to save us. You got to save you. We got to save ourselves. So whatever it is that we feel is needed, that means that, if that's what we feel passionate about, then that's the work, that's our job to create. That's what we bring to the table. What are we doing? Is that what you said? I missed it. I was too busy lecturing. Stacey Abrams made history as first black woman to win Democratic primary for governor. I think we talked about it yesterday. So there have been two black men. I don't know how many women have been governors, but only two black men have been governors. So she would be the first. She is the first to win the Democratic primary for governor. And I guess if she wins, she'll definitely be the first black woman. Hawaii volcano lava. So I guess congratulations. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. Yes, we need to meet and make plans. I want to contribute. Yeah, we do. Um, Hawaii volcano lava flows into power plant site. So the volcano continues to do its thing. It's flowing to the power plant site. Is the power gonna go out in Hawaii? What does it mean? I don't understand. Do you lava proof your place? Leadership begins with being the change that we seek. We cannot preach X and live Y. No, we cannot. We can, but I think part of, self-reflection and growth and maturity and development is realizing, dang, I'm preaching X and I'm living Y. Let me shut up and work on B. And that's the hard work. Really, I think that's the hard work. The work on yourself. It's easy to sit around and point at what everybody else ain't doing. The foolishness of hypocrisy. The foolishness of hypocrisy can no longer be tolerated. Well, what you gonna do? You gonna beat the people down who are hypocrites? Just work on you. Okay. Black DC natives have perfect response to Washingtonians magazine's failed attempt to wipe out Chocolate City. So I guess they did something similar here in Detroit. They had a Glad You Love My Garden. Oh, it was fabulous. You were so funny. You're like, this beautiful. The collard greens made me want to have a pot. At first I thought they were tree collards. We need leaders. I'm not talking about self-help. I'm talking about setting code. Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I'm probably, because I'm not hierarchical or oriented in that way. I feel like everybody is. I'm not like one who looks to somebody else to, do to other people for guidance, but I don't necessarily, I just have a whole different, and I believe when we're dealing with this is the lead, that makes us vulnerable. I feel like we all leaders, we all, but that's a whole conversation probably. So in Detroit, they did this thing. Well, one big landowner, white guy, did this thing where within oneself, yeah. Sometimes it's embarrassing when you find out when you have to admit that you're a hypocrite. Don't tell anybody. So he put how when you're working on a building on the inside, you put stuff like, you might put like brown paper, craft paper up, or newspaper up, and then once the work is finished, you reveal. It's like the big reveal. So when you're walking down the street, you're like, I wonder what they're working on in there. So they had done that in a place downtown, but instead of like brown paper or newspaper, they put up like a poster, and it's like, this is how we see Detroit. It's liberating. Yeah, maybe sometimes it's a whole conversation. Everything is a whole conversation. So they put up a sign that said, this is how we see Detroit. Now, y'all know Detroit is mostly black, but the sign, it was all white people. And people were like, what in the world kind of vision do you have of Detroit? We protest. And so they had to take the sign down. They're like, we sorry, some bull, that they wasn't sorry. They was testing the waters to see, what they could get away with. They constantly trying to whitewash Detroit, but it sounded like they're doing something similar in DC, because they done put up a sign being like, they didn't use the language, this is how we see Detroit, but the story read very similar to me. Having a hard time out there in that city. That's how they see Detroit. Right. This is how we see we don't see you. And we were talking today about the invisibility. Or I was, talking about the invisibility as Black people, but also like I remember growing up being invisible, like, I just remember, growing up being invisible in certain situations and like, am I here? And you here, you exist, but sometimes it gets confusing. You'd be like, I know, like you in a room with, people, and some people ignore you, and you like, I know I'm alive. Yeah. I am from Detroit through and through. This is so embarrassing. You are in Detroit, and I've never asked you if you've ever met anyone from New Era, Detroit. Yeah, I've met some of those young people. I've seen some of their I've seen some of their videos, like one of their videos, Born and Raised. One of their videos, well, the one video I saw, I was kind of like, now I was here for New Era Detroit because when when this whole Trump came out, there was some foolish preacher here who did something, and them children, came into the church and was disrupted, and I was like here for them. And so I was at some event and they were there and they were showing a video of like this is the history of New Era Detroit. And I was kind of concerned because their video kind of started with like oh, it was bad in the world, nobody was doing it or had ever done anything progressive, no one had ever fought for black folks, and then came New Era Detroit. I'm like, children, y'all need to sit down and do some studying. But whatever. So that kind of like, I like their spirit, I like their energy. They do the you might have even done a video, but they do the I haven't heard of them recently, but they do like the flash mobs where they show up to support a black business. They will come as they grow. I've seen they do video, I like they got that buck, that like that energy. I like that. But I didn't care for, I guess just the way I grew up, it's like, you put it in the historical context. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a New Era Chicago too, or there's some variation. I don't know how, I've never been to Detroit. Well, yeah. I'm doing a campaign all next month. Well, we talked about it for starting in June 3rd for the Charles H. Wright Museum. So everybody come visit the museum. And when you come visit the museum, we'll do a personal tour. I know a lot of people who work in the museum. I don't know. I've never had a tour. Oh, there's New Era Atlanta. I didn't know that. But I'm here, and I feel like we all got to grow and start somewhere. I guess I'm just used to the young people who came from, yeah. So yeah, well, you can donate and come see the museum. Get a tour. So I think they were doing the same thing in DC that they trying to do here, that they trying to do throughout. They always, like when they knock a I'm sure something like that has happened in Detroit. I don't follow them closely enough to know, day by day, week by week, what they're dealing with. I've been to LA. My father lived in LA for a minute. But I was a child when I was in LA. The last time I was on the West Coast, I was in San Diego, and before that, San Francisco in the Bay Area. Yeah, I like San Diego. Even when they see the Sphinx or whatever, and they be trying to knock the nose off, I need donations too. No, I'm soliciting people to join the Charles H. Wright Museum, whether you're local or not. So don't donate to me, just get a membership. 43% of millennials plan to quit their job within 2 years. Disney's acrobatic robot can backflip like a human. MH370 not deliberately crashed by pilot, says investigators. This is the plane that disappeared. Did they find it? This is the Malaysian Airlines flight that disappeared, and there was like no hardly any evidence of it. And I'm like, where did the plane go? It seems like it's hard, like there's no evidence of a whole plane, like a whole plane, not like a bookmark, but like a whole plane disappeared. Where it go? So I don't know. Did they find it? There's somebody has a theory that the pilot crashed it, like he was committing suicide, and the investigators are like, no, that didn't happen. Supreme Court rules businesses can stop workers from banding together in disputes against company. That's deep. In some cases, creepy. Yeah. Yeah. So if you work someplace, what's with all those sex robots? So if you work someplace and we work together and we got the same dispute, we can't band together to be like, You know, we the little guys, you the boss, you the owner, you got the money. We the little guys, we can't band together to try to have some leverage. Supreme Court, is that what you're saying? That's not a good look. Or I mean, I shouldn't say good look because it's not about like the look, but like that's some bull. That's some bull. I mean, the erosion of the union movement is really like just amazing. And really, if you look at unionism and people being like working together, like the little people, the poor people, it's 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 a blip. It's like a small part of history, I think. Okay, McDonald's workers make sexual harassment complaints. um, what are the shrinking lynx actually doing? And it was like these two animals. I guess they were like, I guess lynx is a kind of animal, but they look like a combination between like a lion and a dog, or I don't know. I guess that's what a lynx is. And they had like encountered each other. Now they live near, like they live in the same land, but usually the scientists people say they don't really encounter each other. You know, they usually stay out of each other's ways more or less, and they can. But when they encountered each other, they were like, a log. No, it was a lynx. I think that's how you pronounce it. Lynx. It was a lynx. It was two lynx, and they were like, it wasn't really growling. It was like screaming, and they were like, you know. And then all of a sudden, one of them did like this, and then that's when the video cut off. And they're like, usually when they have those encounters, that one of them will back down. And I was wondering if the one who swung was the one who was going to back down. Because, you know, sometimes, like, when you're scared, you be the first one to make a defensive move. Like, I better hit them before they hit me, you know. But then they cut off the video. Because I was like, who's going to back down? I always think it's interesting when you see these animal videos and they like are like, well, what's going on is blah blah. And sometimes I'm like, I wonder if we really know what's going on or if we're projecting, like, so like I'm like, I wonder if that's what's really going on, or like you could tell a whole different story with the same footage from a whole different perspective. Like, how do we know? MIT teaches self-driving cars to change lanes like real drivers. Is that good? Some of y'all don't know how to change lanes. Some of y'all don't need to be driving. So don't be out here trying to teach the self-driving cars how to change lanes like you. Man Booker International Prize, Olga Tokarczuk is first Polish winner. Congratulations. I thought about that because this book, Room, when I read it, I think she was like, it won a Man Booker Prize, the person who told me about it. I'm like, what's the Man Booker Prize? I had never heard of it. So anyway, she won a Man Booker Prize. I'm like, oh, the Man Booker Prize. I felt nervous. Sacramento cop follows man for 10 minutes just to see who's in his car. And the person felt nervous. I'd have felt nervous too. And I guess they just feel like empowered to, oh, I'm just curious to see what's in your car. Oh, I just want to rape you, so let me just stop you. Oh, I just want to shoot somebody, so let me stop you. Leave the animals, so they may be playing up for the cameras. Like reality TV. U.S. to lift ban on baiting bears with donuts in Alaska. I don't really understand the concept. So I guess probably like I have heard that like deer are particularly like likely to come if you feed them corn, but that corn is really really bad for them. So like some people are like it's not cool to feed deer corn. And so I'm assuming that donuts are not really good for bears. You know what I mean? Because donuts aren't good for people. Who are donuts good for? So I guess that alas, there was some ban where you couldn't like put donuts out, like put a whole box of donuts out, I guess, and then be like, wait for the bear to come, and the bear be like, oh, donuts, and eating the donuts, and then you shoot them, and then you call yourself a hunter. It just seems so weak and sorry to me and pitiful to be like, give an animal a drug and then shoot them and call yourself a hunter. Like it just donuts are good for bacteria, nothing else. It just seems like I don't like the whole. I don't like. I feel like I don't. I mean, if there is a sport to hunting, and I'm not sure if I agree with that, but if there is a sport to hunting, I don't feel like I can't respect you if you like a weak hunter and a cheating hunter. Like I feel like if it's you against the animal, then be you against the animal, and you got all the advantages, and then you think you've done something special that should be impressive. I'm not really impressed. That's how I feel. So I feel like, putting donuts out for bears. Never give donuts to bears unless you feed them. Is there overpopulation? There's overpopulation of humans harassing animals. I don't know anything about the bears. But I just feel like that's that daggone donuts are for cops. That's that daggone hunting culture, which is to me is weak. Every time I pay attention to it, it's like it seems nothing like honorable about it to me. Indian man tells how he was raped as a boy. And that's another thing that I feel like, a conversation that doesn't really happen much, just about, we hardly, rarely talk about women being raped and girls being raped. But when you start talking about men and boys and their experience with sexual abuse, they killed 60 million buffalo. Um, right, exactly, exactly. And they just weak. They ain't boo boo. They ain't doing nothing. Um, so for him to tell his story, this Indian person, I guess it was like a big deal because a lot of people don't talk about it, and when things are kept secret, and when things are, like stuff needs light and air to, this that's part of like health and and vitality. If it's so let's be just let the stuff out to air, to freedom, to expose it, because that's we need more of that. um okay, we talked about that. Electric cars could wipe out 7 billion barrels per day of oil demand by 2040. The white woman was right beside him though. Who? Oh, maybe something bona fide said. And they had I think I skipped the story or didn't talk about it, or I might have mentioned it, but there was like these, like, not gas stations but like charge up stations, and they were like the only honorable hunting would be followed by eating what you kill. Outside of that, it's just psychotic violence. Yeah, psychotic violence, that's probably a good word, because that's what it seems like, I don't know. Yeah. U.S. hunter charged. Oh, speaking of hunters, and their honorableness, U.S. hunter charged with bribing Zimbabwean officers for African elephant kill, in reference to the mobs that lynch black people. Right, the white woman was right beside him too. Yeah. Oh shoot. Un momento. Oh my god. That's right. The kids were so fascinated. It was fun. Yay, let's go to the lynching. Um, so the people killed the elephant in Zimbabwe, or I think it was in Zimbabwe, and you're not supposed to bring the ivory into this country, and they wanted to bring the ivory into the country, so they were bribing people. Separation, 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 separation. So, dang, we had an hour and 20 minutes. Okay. Do you remember who in Habaragani? Habaragani? Umoja. uh we might have to do this in two parts today. I was supposed to be going back to get salt today, but then I got stuff I'm doing tonight too. I heard that the black rhino is now extinct. I don't know anything. Oh, I think I saw that story because I think it was like one man. It was one male who was the father and grandfather to two females, and they were trying to like get his sperm and all of this other stuff, and he made his transition. It seemed like it was in the last couple months. I think that was a black rhino. I'm not sure though. Ooh, Djibouti. Djibouti. The djembe, the drums, djembe. The DJ, and this is DJ. Djibouti. I don't know if I know anything about Djibouti. Does anybody know anything about Djibouti? We're about to talk a little bit about Al-Kiblan. We may pick up tomorrow with the Djibouti. Horn of Africa. Asians are responsible for Africa. Animal extinction these days. I think we saw a story a few months ago about was it mule meat? What's that thing? It's not a mule. Is it a mule? It's like the mix. Is it a mule? It seemed like it's a donkey. It was a donkey. I think we read something where a lot of Asian people are eating donkey meat, and people are using their like their donkeys are disappearing, and their donkeys were like a source of income for them, and like to replace them or rent them, it creates financial hardship and a problem. Semi-presidential republic. What's a semi-presidential republic? Okay, so here's the flag. The flag has 4 colors in it: blue, green, red, and white. Red, white, and blue, and green. So ivory is used in Viagra? I didn't know that. So this is the flag here. Far too much encroachment on wild animals. That's how the man got killed by the mountain lion. So the flag has a blue stripe and it has a green stripe, but the stripes don't go all the way across, because in this corner there's a white triangle and then a red star in the middle of the white triangle. So that's the flag of Djibouti. The population is 496,374 people. The currency is the Djiboutian franc. The capital is Djibouti. The languages spoken in Djibouti are Arabic and French. And I'm looking at it. I can't really figure out where it is. Stay away from Chinese restaurants. You might wind up eating rat, dog. Is it close to Somalia? I'm not sure. Oh, y'all can't see nothing. Okay. So that little red dot there, I guess that's Djibouti, but I can't really tell what's that above the red dot. I stay away from well, in New York, I could get brown rice at an Asian restaurant, but I don't, it's like white rice. I don't eat the meat. I mean, what am I doing? I don't go to those. There's nothing really there for me. You see it? Oh, are you Googling it? So it's a semi-presidential republic. I don't know what that means. With executive power in the central government and legislative power in both the government and the parliament. The parliamentary party system is dominated by the People's Rally for Progress, and the president, who currently is Ismail. I like that. The People's Rally for Progress. Oh, you saw it on. It's in the Horn of Africa. That's what you said, Sonia, right? It is bordered by Eritrea in the north, Ethiopia in the west and south, and Somalia in the southeast. She is from Mogadishu. No, Ilwad Elman. I haven't. Not yet. Maybe you do a video on her and then I might listen and I might hear her. I don't know. The remainder of the border is formed by something. The history of Djibouti is recorded in poetry, songs, and folklore. Call me Ishmael. Check out her work. It's worth it. What kind of work does she do? Yeah, I love to make a vegetable fried rice. And my first husband, I have never been able to duplicate his recipe. Now, his recipe for banana pancakes, he had a good recipe for banana pancakes, but mine is better. I've exceeded that. But that fried rice, because it's something he did to make it crispy, and I have woks, I have a cast iron wok, and I have a cast iron, but it's like I can never seem to get that right crispiness. And I mostly do fried rice if I do something, but I like mine with tamari sauce. Yeah. I like to make a fried rice, but that crispiness, I wish are you cooking over fire? Yeah. But it's just fire that comes out the stove. It's not outside or anything. I've cooked cooking with gas. Not electric. I don't care for an electric stove very much. They kind of confuse me. Like, I don't know, like when I'm like medium high, what does it mean? I don't get it. I'm all electric. Like, but when I see the flame, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense to me. But like somehow with the electric stoves, I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And I'm forever, confused. Um Oh, the history of Djibouti is recorded in poetry, songs, and folklore of its nomadic people. Fartun Adan, she found Elam Peace Human Rights Center. I don't like electric. It does not cook evenly. Oh, yeah. You just make a fire or get a propane stove like a camp stove. I've done that before. Um A camp stove. Okay, so the nomadic people goes back thousands of years to a time when Djiboutians traded hides and skin for the perfumes and spices of ancient Egypt, India, and China. The largest city of the Republic of Djibouti, it lies on the peninsula that divides the Gulf of Aden from the Gulf of Tadjoura. Djibouti has the same status as the country's 5 regions. It's a country in the Horn of Africa. We talked about that. Has been a cultural and commercial crossroads. A population density of 24 persons per 61 square miles. We still don't know what that means, do we? The population is 85% urban. The capital, principal port, blah, 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 blah. Something is chewed in Djibouti, but it's illegal in many countries, including the United States. Djiboutians are generally conservative in dress and manner, especially in rural areas. Photography of public infrastructure. Oh, I don't know where they're going there. The juncture of the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. Oh, I missed that. A multi-party democracy with a legal system based on French civilian law, was a French colony until 1977. So look, now that we're going through these countries in Al-Kebalan, Mr. Bonafide, in Al-Kebalan, we're coming across all of these countries. We did not know. We thought that all of the liberation had happened in 61 and 65 and in the 60s. So now we're coming across all of these countries that were French colonies until 1977. You were 6 years old, Bonafide. You was alive, and they was still a colony. Okay, it's a haven for terrorists and insurgent elements. Divided into 5 regions in one city. East Africa. Okay, we talked about that. Climate is very hot, humid, and arid, especially in the summer. The summer heat is moderated, however, by a sustained breeze in the coastal city of Djibouti. From October to April, the temperature is cooler with occasional rain. So it's interesting. They didn't tell us. They just said it's hot. They ain't tell us what does hot mean. Yesterday, the last time we talked about a country, Ghana in 1960. The first colonized country that liberated itself. Last time we talked about a country, their average temperature was 90 degrees. But they just telling us they say they just hot. Well, what does hot mean? Does hot mean 90 degrees? Does hot mean 105 degrees? Does hot mean 80 degrees? I mean, hot means different things to different people. I disagree with this choice. The editor should have been on that. Very hot, humid, and arid. Okay. Governed under the Constitution of 1992. The economy is based on a number of service activities associated with its strategic location and its position as a free trade zone. It's a major port for Northeast Africa, as well as international transshipment and refueling center. Transshipment. That's a pretty looking word. Industry is mainly limited to food processing, construction, and shipbuilding and repair. How can it be humid and arid at the same time? Are those two different things? Humid is like wet heat, and arid is like dry heat. What? Let me go back to this paragraph and see what we're going to get on this editor. Let me see. Maybe I misread it. It says Djibouti's climate is very hot, humid, and arid. They are opposites. Can we trust this source any longer? Should I just throw my phone away? I just have this thing because I can have it on my little screen and I can click it, and the countries are in alphabetical order, and then I can just click it and it's simple. But now it's causing me to question everything. It's like pushing and pulling at the same time. Okay. So that's it. Everybody's science. In fact, Arizona was named, arid climate, arid zona. So everybody's assignment is to go and research Djibouti. Let's see if we can find some good information up. When they made the terrorist comment, I started giving the side eye. Yeah, this whole thing, and then it's weird too because it's like if it's like 10 paragraphs, the paragraphs are in random order. So like, or not the paragraphs, but like it might take 4 lines from here and then 4 lines from here. It's like it's weird. I don't know if you notice. I'll like start the sentence and then just stop. It's not. I mean, I know that I am like this, but it's not that. Like with this, it's just like it just stops, and then the next thing it picks up with is something totally different. Somebody had told me, I went to the library to try to find like I wanted like a children's book on Africa, like where I could just go alphabetically, on Alkebulan, and just go country by country and have a map and, the flag and some basic facts. And I wanted it to be written by someone of African descent with a certain consciousness. And I went to my black bookstore and I went to the libraries and I couldn't find anything. And then somebody recommended a site to me, but when I went to the site, it wasn't as easy to navigate as this. But that's all I got on that. So, well, at least it's got the name right. Is Djibouti a real place? Because I wasn't really trying to become a scholar or an expert. I was just trying to familiarize my mind and my mouth with certain ideas and concepts, and so that I could be familiar and stop being like, I've never heard of that. Where that at? 54 countries in Africa. I can't name none of them. Perhaps a coloring book. Yeah, I didn't want it to be a coloring book. I wanted it to be like a little more, like an atlas. Is that what they are? Where you can get like basic, and I couldn't, it would be like, you could find like an African atlas, but it didn't have, it wasn't like what I wanted. It wasn't in alphabetical order. I couldn't find what I wanted. And then I knew that my bookstore was going to have it. But she didn't have it. So, what are you looking forward to? Y'all hear how loud I'm cutting these cards? I'm always giving the side eye. Then when I really want to show my distaste, I take the other eye to join it. Yeah, it might be a project for me, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's going to have to get added to the list. But I mean, I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't find it, and I wish that someone else had taken on the project. In any moment, I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. In any moment, I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. In any moment, like right now. Contemplation, prayer, stillness. There is power in silence. I'm gonna stop being so silly tomorrow, not today. Okay, so that's what I got. Hey, did I meditate this morning? I need to go meditate. Oh my God, I got a meeting I got to get ready for. Okay. All right. So anybody have anything new or good to report? Anything exciting that you're looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the Odunde Festival, June 10th in Philadelphia, Philly. It wasn't silly, but I was being silly. I was trying not to show it because you all were so quiet. Y'all got so quiet. You're actually always quiet. Nobody says anything. Dang, I know what I was about to do. Oh no, not music. It's not really music. It's really, really not music. So that's fun. So are you in the part of New Jersey that's near Philly, or are you near the city? Are you near New York City? And what is the Odunde Festival? Is that right? Odunde? Anybody else have anything that they're looking forward to?
Hey, be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous.
All right.
Be you.
This is your chance.
Be fabulous.
This is the countdown. Anything you got to say it now or forever hold your peace or put it in the comments. Oh, I'm looking forward to your next live stream. Yay! Closer to New York City. Oh, Philly is over an hour away from me. 10. Peace. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Could y'all hear the theme song playing in the background? Thank you all for being here. Go and check them out. I may not remember, and I may not go back through the comments. 9, 8. How do you say it? Your safe word. You know you can't say it, so it means you don't have a safe word. All right, good people. Today is the best day ever. Peace and blessings. It is on purpose that we are here together. It is on purpose. It's in divine order. It is God's will, and we are doing God's work. Umoja family. One love. Black first. That's what y'all be saying, right? Be one. Ooh, B1 could be like B1, like BEONE. Or it could be like B1, like Black first. That's what y'all be meaning. But you know, unity, Umoja. Okay. Go and check Fartun Adan and Ilwad El Iman. Oh, but you know what? I need to say to you, Bonafide, the other day when I listened to that song, the other song that you had me listen to, now when I listened to that song, I was like, huh. But the other song, is it What's Your Sign? That was playing after the other one, and I was like, oh. So it might grow on me. All right, peace. You be fabulous. Be fabulous. You be blessed and be a blessing. Enjoy.